This is such a spectacular location, far from major highways and roads. Standing here, I'm about an hour from Yarmouth, Nova Scotia in one direction and an hour from Shelburne in the other, on the edge of the Tobeatic Wilderness Area at Trout Point Lodge. And I've come here to explore some of the 40 hectares that make up this property. As well, I'm going to venture into the Tobeatic Wilderness Area, an area that covers thousands of hectares of land stretching as far as Kejimkujik National Park. To reach the Tobeatic Wilderness Area from Trout Point and find the trailhead for Billy's Hill, I first have to take the Red Trail. Now, the Red Trail is a wilderness trail that will skirt the river all the way along the Trout Point property. The Trout Point Lodge sits on land alongside the Tusket River. You can canoe out from here and around Billy's Island, which is to the north. The hike I will be on today includes both the Red Trail and Billy's Hill, and is a distance of around 13 kilometers on an out and back route. This Red Trail is marked with paint on the trees, but once I reach the Tobeatic, it will become a much more rustic go. It's not the sort of hike you take without either someone who has been before or a GPS unit in case you get lost. The lodge here offers free guided hikes out to Billy's Hill for their guests. This is called the Scarlet Cabin here at Trout Point. It's not actually used these days, but it does have an interesting history. Parts of the facade of this cabin are actually made up of set pieces from the movie A, The Scarlet Letter, a Disney film that was shot in nearby Shelburne. The only road crossing on the Red Trail is the driveway for the beaver dam. No, not a real beaver dam. It's a secondary lodge building that is home to 3 guest rooms, a common room, and a dock. The entire facility here is intimate, with only 12 rooms and 1 cottage. With guests coming to this remote Nova Scotia location from all over the world for an escape, all the rooms are often full. The Red Trail comes to an end here at East Branch Road, and from here it's just a short jaunt across the bridge to the trailhead for Billy's Hill. Now, in some ways this area hasn't changed a lot. Hunting, fishing, paddling have always been popular in this area. However, at the other end of East Branch Road, or at least near the other end, was once one of the largest tin mines in all North America. The Rio Alga mine opened in 1982 and began production in 1985. It was expected to last for 17 years and was one of the largest employers in Yarmouth County. But with the collapse of tin prices, the mine closed in 1992. While there have been a number of discussions about reopening it for tin or other minerals, so far none have come to pass, and the former open pit mine sits now covered in water. Here at the end of the road is the trailhead for Billy's Hill. Now, there's no signage here. There's nothing really to mark the trailhead itself. This is the edge of the Tobeatic Wilderness Area, but this is considered a secondary access point. From here, I'll have to be mindful to check GPS directions periodically because there will be no trail signage, not just here at the trailhead, but nowhere along this route. The Tobeatic Wilderness Area spans 5 counties and is the largest wilderness area in the Maritimes. It covers an area of 104,000 hectares. When combined with the adjacent Kejimkujik National Park and Historic Site, the expansive area of protected landscape across central, southwestern Nova Scotia is obvious. The area protects wetlands, old-growth pine and hemlock forest, and the headwaters of 9 major river systems. River systems that flow to both the Atlantic and Fundy. The Tusket River, where I started my journey, is one of those, finding its headwater in the Tobeatic. From a wildlife perspective, this area protects the rare endangered mainland moose, the very common black bear, and a reintroduced population of American marten. Hunters, fishermen, and trappers seek out brook trout, white-tailed deer, bobcat, and beaver. Moose was a very popular animal to hunt here, and that hunt kept guiders busy. But with the animal now endangered, it is no longer legal to take moose. There are now overlapping boundaries of wildlife management areas and wilderness area, the former including private and public lands. Tenting is allowed throughout the wilderness, so you can make multi-day hikes across the region. While you aren't allowed to build campsites, there are many established areas from years of use by hikers and paddlers, as well as flat, higher ground that is suitable for camping. Wilderness trails mean there are no park wardens to be clearing the trails of deadfall. There are no constructed trails per se in a wilderness area. In fact, constructing trails is not permitted. So what you get is routes that have been trodden down over years, sometimes centuries, by humans and wildlife. This is actually the main trail, but you can see it's unpassable. And so a new trail has sort of been created that I've come through. But this is what happens in wilderness areas. It's a little unusual to see a bit of yellow chloroplast out in the middle of the woods, nowhere near civilization. But this sign marks the official legal boundary of the wilderness area, though most people consider the trailhead to be the start of the wilderness area. Well, I'm fortunate to be hiking in the middle of May, which is exactly the short season for the ostrich fern. Now, most people will know them as fiddleheads, which is what they are before they turn into a full-size fern. They are also called green gold because they are so popular with harvesters who sell them at markets across the province. Now, harvesters will keep some of their best sites secret. But this season, now maybe until mid-June, you can find them on family supper tables or in five-star restaurants. Fiddleheads have a short season. They're picked just after they sprout and form their characteristic shape and before they become a fern. They are best picked when the head of the fern is tightly coiled, dark in color, and no larger than 3 centimeters in diameter. Once they begin to uncoil, the heads become tough and they lose their flavor. Of course, if you do pick fiddleheads, you don't want to pick them all. Some ferns in the clump need to grow to full size to ensure a new clump next year. It's a beautiful spring day here today, but the weather can change in this area quite dramatically. It can go from sunny to rainy very quickly, and so you need to always be prepared. And it's not a really well-known fact that this area is also the site of Nova Scotia's coldest winter temperatures and hottest summer temperatures. This wilderness is important for many reasons. not least of which are its size and the landscapes which it protects. As you travel through here, you might believe that this land had never been touched by humans. But in fact, as you dive deeper, you'll find evidence of the old indigenous travel routes, European settlement, and you'll find evidence of the hunting guide industry that once prospered here in the form of old cabins. This area is also popular as a canoeing and kayaking destination. There are many watercourse maps available to help you navigate routes through this wilderness. And even this trip to Billy's Hill can be accomplished by a combination of canoe and hiking routes. This area is remote, but it's certainly not unknown. In fact, the famous 1908 book, The Tent Dwellers by Albert Bigelow Paine, tells his story as he traveled with a friend and guides on a 3-week fishing trip across these lands, starting in Annapolis Royal, heading to where Kejimkujik is now, and into this wilderness area. Paine was Mark Twain's biographer. Now, many more recent readers have noted that much of what he would have seen in terms of scenery over his trip hasn't changed much in over 100 years, though the undisturbed area is much smaller these days. Tobeatic Park was first established as a game sanctuary in 1927 with the aim of promoting hunting and fishing, as well as providing employment opportunities for guides to take hunting and fishing parties into the area. In 1968, the boundaries of the area were expanded and the focus shifted to wildlife protection and research. Hunting, fishing, and of course wilderness recreation is allowed in this area. You'll find some private camps in the area, but these are grandfathered in. New ones aren't permitted. This cabin is the end of this hike, and it is also the top of Billy's Hill. Now, where the name Billy came from, nobody really seems to know. It's been lost to history. There is actually an island down in the river which is called Billy's Island. Almost certainly the two are connected. Well, cabins like this are remnants of the guiding days of hunting, and they're still used by hunters throughout this wilderness area. You know, since the beginning of this hike, I've climbed only 80 meters or so to get to this point. However, despite that, this is the highest point in the entire Tobeatic. Billy's Hill was my destination for this hike, but there's something else quite unique that this area has to offer outdoor adventurers: stargazing. So before I pack it in for the night, I'm headed back to the lodge where I'm going to take in the dark skies that draw people from all over the world. In 2007, at a meeting in La Palma, the Declaration in Defense of the Night Sky and the Right to Starlight was approved during the Starlight Conference. The declaration recognized that light pollution was a real threat and that preserving and promoting dark skies is important culturally and for the natural environment. This area is so remote, it has no light pollution to speak of. This dark sky reserve is formally known as the Acadian Skies and Mi'kmaq Lands. We are in a dark sky preserve.
We are in a dark sky preserve. We're currently under some protected skies, some of the darkest skies in North America. They're dark, as you can see all out there. There's hectares of undisturbed wild wilderness called the Tobeatic, one of the biggest protected areas in the Maritimes. As well, we're about 45 minutes from the closest city, so we don't really get any light pollution in that sense. So we are quite blessed with some really dark skies out here. On a clear night, you can see over 3,000 stars to the naked eye, which is quite incredible.
It's a neat way to end a day of hiking.
It is, yes.
Wow, That was absolutely stunning. And what a day. I started early this morning at Billy's Hill, but I couldn't miss finishing up the night in a dark sky preserve, seeing this absolutely unique experience. It's been a really long day. Tomorrow, I'm staying in this area, but I'm gonna be hiking with a bit of a different purpose in mind.
Won't you be mine? Feel the sunshine.
It's easy to think about hiking as just a walk in the forest or perhaps finding an urban trail for an outing. Perhaps you're in search of that hidden gem or that elusive wildlife. But it can be about much more. And there are many different ways that people find to enjoy the outdoors and experience their hikes. And here on the edge of the Tobeatic Wilderness, I'm about to explore a couple of unique ways to experience a hike. For millennia, the Mi'kmaq lived on these lands, and they relied on the forest for foods and for medicines. And the sun and the rain has been coming and going all morning. But as the rain starts to move back in, I'm going to use this time to learn about a beverage that has been made for centuries from these woods.
So we'll start with the balsam fir.
Christmas trees.
Yeah. So you want not the leader, just you can take a branch off either side of the leader and then just spread out through different trees to give them a chance to come back from the foraging. The bigger the tree, the better.
So you don't take it all from one spot in the tree?
No, you are going to want to spread out. With these, you do the stem as well. Pines, you would just take the needles, but the stem of the tree is good as well with these ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they are known for their relief in cold symptoms, from coughing to a sore throat to congestion. For the white pine, you can tell it's a white pine because the needles are in bunches of 5, and the way I like to remember it is white is a 5-letter word. Pine helps with heart health, eyesight, and just all-around immune health. So it's a really beneficial tree to make tea out of. These are our tea bags, so they just open up at the top, and then you decide what kind of tea you want to make. If you want to mix it, or if you just want to keep it one. And then, so say we'll do white pine to start. You want to grab your white pine. And then,
How much should I need in a tea bag? Like,
yeah.
whether you're hiking, camping, fishing, or just sitting in the outdoors, there's a lot of research now to suggest that it might actually be good for your health. In fact, in many Canadian provinces, doctors can prescribe nature as part of your healthcare routine. Of course, the idea of nature as part of healthcare isn't new. Shinrin-yoku is a Japanese concept that's sometimes called forest bathing, forest therapy, or grounding.
Forest bathing takes place on the island out here, and throughout it, there'll be invitations I'll invite you to participate in, starting with a meditation on the bridge to enter into the forest with a clear mind and curiosity to absorb all the forest has to offer. Forest bathing originated in Japan in the 1980s. It's also known as Shinrin-yoku, which means forest bathing in Japanese. And it's really just absorbing everything the forest has to offer and using your senses to do so. We're gonna stop here and really just look at all the movement and colors or lack thereof happening around us. Really just using your eyes to take in all that's happening. And when you're ready, we can begin to cross. have a bit of a straightaway here, and I'm just going to invite you to engage your touch sense and just allow yourself to spread out along the trail and touch anything that strikes your interest and you're just curious as to how it feels. For the second invitation, I'm going to invite you to either sit or stand by the river and really use your hearing sense to just take in all the sounds that the river has to offer. For the third invitation, I'm just going to invite you to go out here. As you can see, there's kind of room areas that are like rooms, and I'm just going to invite you out to go out and find a spot and use all your senses to explore it.
While the phrase Shinrin-yoku only goes back to 1982, when the Japanese Ministry of Forestry, Agriculture and Fisheries coined it to encourage more people to go out into the forests, you can actually trace the concept itself back to at least the 6th century BCE, when Cyrus the Great planted a garden in the middle of a city to help promote human health. Research suggests that as little as 5 minutes in nature can improve your health. And Parks Canada allows some family physicians to hand out 1 free discovery pass a month, all in the name of health. Poet Mary Davis once wrote that a walk in nature walks the soul back home. There are many different ways to experience the forest. Perhaps you're foraging for tea, or you're bathing in the glow of the forest, or perhaps you're taking a hike to a high point of land named after someone who's been memorialized forever, but no one can quite remember who that was. However you experience the forest, however you enjoy the wilderness, I hope your next walkabout is truly personal to you.
Hey, come on, feel the sunshine. Oh, come on, won't you be mine? Hey, come on, feel the sunshine. Oh, come on, won't you be mine? Feel the sunshine. Oh, hey. Oh, hey. Oh, hey. Feel the sunshine. Hey, come on, feel the sunshine.